Good evening, everyone. I'm Dora Salm, Performing Arts Librarian at Greenwich Library. Thank you for being here tonight, and welcome to A Night Out with Friends, a conversation with Misty Copeland. Thank you to the Friends of Greenwich Library for helping us keep arts and culture alive in the community in such challenging times. And thank you to all the attendees out there for joining us and being with us here tonight. We are thrilled to welcome the incomparable and magnificent Misty Copeland for this up-close and personal conversation. Before I introduce Misty, here are a few reminders about tonight's program. The program is a webinar format of Zoom. All attendees are in listen-only mode. The first part of the program will consist of questions that I've come up with for Misty, and the second part consists of questions from the attendees, from you in the audience. Please post any questions in the Q&A section of the Zoom toolbar. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can as possible. We also have our local history librarian, Rick, on the back end, who is going to be answering any technical questions or issues that may arise. The program is going to run 1 hour in length. A recorded version of this interview will be available after October 6th and can be found on the Greenwich Library YouTube site. And it's going to be available for a limited time only. Misty has kindly provided a limited number of signed book plates for her latest book, Bunheads, and they can be purchased at Diane's Books and Greenwich's local independent bookstore, and they have online purchase and also curbside pickup. I picked up 2 so far. The books are also available at your local public library, of course. Before I introduce Misty, I want to make sure that everyone is sitting down, because this is going to take a while. Misty's contributions to the world of ballet are truly phenomenal. She was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and raised in San Pedro, California. Misty began her ballet studies at the age of 13. At 15, she won first place at the Music Center Spotlight Awards. She studied at the San Francisco Ballet School and the American Ballet Theatre Summer Intensive on full scholarship, and was declared ABT's National Coca-Cola Scholar in the year 2000. Misty joined ABT Studio Company in September 2000. She joined the American Ballet Theatre as a member of the Corps de Ballet in April 2001. And in August 2007 became the company's second African-American female soloist and the first in 2 decades. In 2008, Misty was honored with the prestigious Leonore Annenberg Fellowship in the Arts. In June 2015, Misty was promoted to principal dancer, making her the first African-American woman. African-American woman to be promoted to the position in the company's 75-year history. I seem to have an issue with my camera, I see, so I am going to keep going until I fix that. I apologize in advance. My camera seems to be not working. Let me do a quick run through. Where did I leave off? Performing a variety of classical and contemporary roles, one of Misty's most important roles was performing the title in Firebird. In December 2014, Misty performed the lead role in Clara, an American Ballet Theatre's production of The Nutcracker. In the fall of 2014, she made history as the first African-American woman to perform the lead role of Odette/Odile in American Ballet Theatre's Swan Lake during the company's inaugural tour to Australia. Misty was honored with an induction into the Boys and Girls National Hall of Fame in May 2012 and was named National Youth of the Year Ambassador for the Boys and Girls Club of America in June 2013. In 2014, President Obama appointed Misty to the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. In 2014, Under Armour launched Misty as one of the faces of their I Will What I Want campaign. Misty's passion is giving back. She has worked with many charitable organizations and is dedicated to giving of her time to work with and mentor young boys and girls. Misty is a best-selling author and has 4 books under her swan feathered wing. She received an honorary doctor from the University of Hartford in November 2014 for her contributions to classical ballet and helping to diversify this art form. Without further ado, welcome to Greenwich Library's virtual stage, the marvelous Misty Copeland.
Hello.
Hello, Misty. Thank you. I had a few glitches. My phone and my camera are not cooperating with me. I apologize profusely.
This is the world we live in today.
This is indeed the world we live in.
You're excused.
I'm very sorry. Thank you. I apologize profusely for that. Bad camera.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for joining us.
Thank you. We're honored and humbled. I want to talk about your let's just start. Let's go right into it. Let's talk about your hot off the presses children's picture book, Bunheads. It was just released September 29 by Penguin Random House. And Penguins is about a young ballerina named Misty who discovers her love of dance through the ballet of Coppelia. It's gotten rave reviews so far, School Library Journal, National Public Radio, Book List. They've all given you amazing reviews. And it's so exciting to see as you're leafing through it, young people of different color, people of color, different sizes and shapes, all ballet dancers, and a book about ballet. It was really beautiful.
Thank you.
If you could tell us the inspiration for this book. And another question I personally had is, why did you choose this particular ballet as the backdrop for the story? I noticed that this wasn't a ballet that you have personally performed in.
So the idea actually came about, my husband and I came up with the concept about 5 years ago. I think with just the idea of, first of all, what bunheads are. And, you know, it's this, I think, really adorable term of endearment that we use for young dancers, the ones that are so dedicated and so committed. You know, it came from that idea that the young dancers just didn't want to take their buns out. They didn't want to let their hair down because they just loved ballet so much. So that's where that term comes from. But just coming up with a concept of an idea of the positivity that I've experienced in the ballet world and ballet community, which is not often depicted in film and in television and in media. And so that's something that I'm constantly trying to share, is that a lot of these kind of negative connotations and tropes that are so attached to ballet, they aren't the reality of so many, and there's so much beauty in art and in dance, and just to be able to include more than one type of person. And my experience, you know, growing up in diverse Southern California at my small ballet school, there was just such a variety of young dancers. And so the story is young Misty. It's not exactly, you know, what I experienced, but it's you know, loosely based on my experiences I had growing up, coming into ballet for the first time, and, you know, those nerves and anxieties of doing something that's unfamiliar and completely out of your comfort zone, and finding a support system around you, the friendships and relationships that are made in the ballet studio. You know, you're literally, you know, you're so vulnerable and naked, literally you're in a leotard and tights, and you share this beautiful experience with the people around you. And it's this story of Misty meeting her, who will become her best friend, Kat, in the story. But she was my best friend growing up, a young Mexican-American girl that had a completely different background than me. She was 3 years younger than me. And their journey together in auditioning for this ballet Coppelia, and then going on to the performance. But I thought that the ballet was a beautiful one for a children's book because it's so visually rich. There's so many layers to it. There's just a small portion, like a short version of the ballet that we tell, like the story within the story of Bunheads. But I just felt like visually it's very friendly, and I actually have performed it. So it was one of the first ballets that I performed as a young girl at my school in San Pedro. And then Swanilda and Coppelia I did with American Ballet Theatre. I was still a soloist at the time, and it was one of the first principal roles that I danced. I danced it for the first time. I think we were in Abu Dhabi. It was a one-show thing, and then I think I might have done it once or twice in New York, but a long time ago. But it's really, I think, this book is celebrating the friendships and the support and the beauty of ballet.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try a different fork here. You talked about, thank you you talked so much about the visual of the book, and I really wanted to. I was so excited when I saw the illustrations. So I'm going to jump over to that question. Can you talk a little bit? I know for your first picture book, which is called Firebird, and this is actually such a beautiful book. As a school librarian, I recommended this book to so many young boys and girls. I just loved it. And it really sparked an interest in not just ballet, but in other types of historical figures. And I loved this book. But this book has a different feel, very different visual feel. And can you talk a little bit about your work with the illustrator? I think I'm saying his name right, Sitor Fiadzigbe. He's originally from Ghana, and I was so struck by the illustrations. They really showed the true physical strength of the ballet dancers. They were edgy. It was modern.
Yeah.
It was just really powerful. How'd you come across him, and how'd you meet him? And you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, my experience with Firebird was so different from this work on my second children's book. Christopher Myers, who is the illustrator of Firebird, who is just an incredible person and soul and artist
out there.
Yes, I adore him, and the images are so striking, but they're also much more kind of abstract than what Bunheads is. But working with Christopher, he sought me out, and we literally came together, and we would just hang out, and we came up with an idea and the story together. So it was really a hands-on collaboration between the two of us, and we built a beautiful friendship within creating that book. So on the very other end of it, with Bunheads, it was an idea that I had been coming up with for years, and it was really just about the right timing and finding the right team. So the story had already really been structured, and then by Penguin, I was given a list of illustrators and shown their work, and most of them, the majority of them had done children's books, and they had drawn dancers, and I really wanted to show ballet in the way I experience it, the way I remember experiencing it as a child, and what it feels like. Like, I wanted that to come out on the pages. And so Setor, he actually I think he was one of the few artists that didn't have any drawings of a dancer. All of his were more comic book looking characters, and a lot of them were superheroes. And I remember being in a room full of people at Penguin and saying, that's who I want. That's my number one that I want to see if he's available. And they were kind of shocked by it. They were like, we threw him in there because we think he's an incredible artist, but we just weren't sure if it was the right fit. And I was like, when I think about ballet dancers, I think that they are superheroes. And I think a lot of children look at dancers like they are defying gravity and ethereal. And so he went above and beyond what I imagined. And he really got that feeling of what the vividness. And for someone who'd never drawn a dancer, you know, I would get his early works, and I would just say, yes, it's a go. And everyone would say, did you really look at his drawings? Why don't you have any corrections or anything to say? I'm like, because they're perfect. I was so impressed with the research he did in studying. That's such a hard thing to do with body proportions and not knowing ballet, like how to make the lines look accurate. And again, he brought everything together in such a beautiful way that you don't even necessarily have to read the story because the pictures speak for themselves. And I think that's so powerful.
I did too. I was really blown away. And there's one particular one that I wish I could get to it quickly. But it really shows movement and power. And
I think I know which one you're talking about. It's the Ron de Jambe that they're doing, and there's the beautiful layers of the legs that show the movement.
And I'll show this to our viewers at home.
That's the one. I love that too.
And I think with my camera, which isn't
we can
good
see
for
it
me today. You could see how amazing
I love it.
I loved it too. So I could see that you really worked together, and he really conveyed the message to you of physical power for you. And I love how you work with that. And it looked like you had an amazing eye. Can you tell us how long it took from start to finish? A picture book of this length and this message?
I'm trying to remember when we started. I want to say it's been like two years or more. It's been quite a while. Again, it's really important to find the right team of people. And my picture books tend to take longer than other books. I'm not really sure why. But you know, it's just a lot more to really put, you know, it's not just kind of gathering information or photos that exist, or doing a photo shoot. It's really creating from the ground up, which is different from my other books that I've done. But yeah, it seems like it took so long, but with both of my children's books, when I saw them for the first time, I just cried, because it's like, you know, working on a role in a character and then having the opportunity to actually go out and perform it and release that. And so it's such a beautiful experience to see the finished product.
It's amazing to see this come to life, and it's amazing to get it in your hands and see someone else's vision, and to really be blown away from as a reader and a librarian. Is there something specific about your childhood that inspired you to write kids' books? And this is your second book, and you've written 2 adult nonfiction. But is there something that maybe in your childhood that spoke to you as a reader and a writer?
I think that, well, first of all, I'm one of 6 children, so I grew up with a very big family, and you know, writing and reading was a tool that I definitely used as an escape and as a way of expressing myself before dance came into my life. I was so introverted, and just not having a lot of structure or stability in my home environment. I think it made me even more closed off, but it was being able to use my imagination through seeing picture books and things like that. I was definitely drawn to. But when I entered into the ballet world, you know, there's such a beautiful structure of mentorship that is organically there. You know, it's something as simple as, you know, the teacher in front of the class, or the different coaches and people that come in to set ballets and teach you the steps. They're literally passed down like from one hand to another, from the original choreographer in the 1800s that teaches it to a ballerina, who teaches it to a ballerina. And so it just kind of this amazing, beautiful tradition and history that I feel like has allowed me to want to be that for young people. And so I feel like I've had beautiful relationships and mentored so many young people. And it's so vital and important to not forget about them, that they are the future and they are how we're going to be better and stronger as people, and how the dance and ballet community are going to continue to grow and evolve. And so it's so important to embrace and nurture and really just give all of our knowledge and experience to the next generation. And so I feel like that's why I'm so drawn to children's books.
Wow. I don't think you could have said anything more beautiful than that. That was awesome. Did you have a favorite book growing up?
I loved Where the Wild Things Are.
Always a classic, of course.
Yeah, there's just visually, there's so many layers and so much to take from it. And I think that I've just always been a very visual person. Before I knew I was an artist in a defined way, but that was really important for me as a child.
All right. Bunheads is actually your second children's book. The first being Firebird. You've got two nonfiction books. The memoir, which I love. This is the hardcover, which is from the library. Check this out. And this is the paperback. I purchased this again from Diane's books. I wanted it for my college-age children when they came home from school, because I thought it was so inspirational.
Thank you.
And also you have another book out, Ballerina, Body Dancing and Eating Your Way to a Leaner, Stronger, and More Graceful You. I don't have a copy of it because our copies of the library are all checked out. So I'm glad someone's enjoying that. In your memoir, you've written a lot about your childhood and the many hardships that you had to overcome. You didn't start ballet until the age of 13, which you note as being pretty much a late start for a prima ballerina. How'd you get over that? How did you overcome that?
You know, I often say this, but there just are no shortcuts in ballet. That's the reason that we really start from a young age, is that our careers start fairly early. You know, most people start that audition process around the age of 16. And the ballet technique is so refined and so nuanced that it's something that you have to get your body to be able to do second nature. And their only way of doing that is through repetition and building strength and building muscle memory. So, you know, though I was such a natural mover, and my body picked up and held on to information like really well. You know, there were so many things working for me that allowed me to evolve quickly. But at the same time, if it's not something that's ingrained into your brain and your body and your muscles, you can't really kind of maintain and have the stamina to get through, you know, a 2-hour, 3-hour ballet if you just aren't practiced enough. So I mean, I was working overtime. I was taken out of public school, and I ended up living with my ballet teacher for 3 years, with her and her husband and her 3-year-old son, Wolfie, who actually is a character in the book. He's the boy, our boy, yes, the blonde boy in Bunheads. You know, I consider my little brother. He was 3 years old when I moved in with my teacher and their family. But, you know, I was taking up to 3 ballet classes a day. I was 13 years old, but I was taking with 5-year-olds, and then I would take right after that with 8-year-olds, and then with a more advanced class. So, you know, I feel like I didn't really feel that I was completely ready until I was like far into my professional career at American Ballet Theatre. But I just went with it because I was being given these opportunities and I was so passionate about it. And I guess I could fake it really well.
I'm not sure about that. I think you were a really amazing learner and disciplined. And until I actually read your memoir, I just didn't realize how much physical strength is necessary to be a ballet dancer. You think of it as beautiful, flowing, and natural, but very swan-like. But it really is just sheer force of energy and muscle memory. It's just amazing. You talked about your ballet dancer, and you were so lucky to have such, you know, helpful mentors growing up that really helped you blossom. Um, who would you describe as your biggest champions in and outside of the dance community?
Well, my family, it's very interesting. I think with them, I mean, clearly they're impressed by my career as a dancer, but that's just, it was never our world. We, when I entered into the ballet world, I didn't even really understand all that it took and where it could take me. So those types of things didn't really impress my siblings that much. Like, they didn't really care that I was going to Tokyo at 19 years old and dancing on these grand stages. But when they saw me speaking in front of thousands of people, which is something that happened later in my career, getting the opportunity to write books and do speaking engagements, that's when they were like, whoa, how have you become this person? I went from, my nickname being Mouse because I was so quiet, I didn't speak. And that's what ballet and the arts gave me. They gave me the tools and the confidence and ability to be able to express myself, not just through motion, but through my voice. And it's incredible that, that I've come so far. But so, of course, they're a huge support. But my husband has been there for me for 15 years and with me literally through this whole ride. And, I think I learned a lot by watching my mother in her many marriages and relationships of, what I wanted, and that I really wanted to be sure about the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And a lot of that had to do with someone who understood what I was sacrificing and putting into my career and all that it took, and respected that, and that we were equals in our relationship.
Wow, sounds really beautiful. You mentioned that you took your first ballet class at the Boys and Girls Club, which became your launching pad for your ballet career. Can you discuss a little bit your mentoring work with this organization and other ways you provide mentoring and assistance to young people across the country?
I feel like everything that I know in terms of having that experience of mentorship, of course, as I was describing earlier, how ingrained it is in the ballet culture. But at my Boys and Girls Club, it was the first time I'd ever experienced outside of my parents and my siblings, that were people that cared about me and wanted to nurture me and wanted to support me and guide me. And that's what I had at my Boys and Girls Club, where I was a member, I think, from age of 7 until I was like 14. And then I took my first ballet class there on a basketball court, where I was discovered, I guess you could say. But I've always just felt like it was so important for me to reach back and be a part of the Boys and Girls Club and be able to bring more arts and more dance into clubs. And, at my age, when I started, there weren't really dance departments in Boys and Girls Clubs all over the country. And I can say that that now, in this day, there are so many state-of-the-art ballet studios in particular that have been added to clubs across the nation, which is so impressive. But I feel like they really kind of taught me what it was to accept guidance and to witness, that type of relationship. And so it's been important for me to be a part of so many of their youth programs, as you're saying, Youth of the Year, where I was, an ambassador. And I've maintained so many of these relationships with these kids that come from similar backgrounds as I did, and have been guided and succeeding and in college and doing all kinds of incredible things. And it's really shaped how I mentor other people, and these relationships develop in such random ways. I remember I would get people that would jump out of their cars and hand me letters, and I would stay in touch with them. And to this day, like 10 years later, a lot of these people are still in my life. So I just feel like there's no way that I could receive as much support and help and love as I have throughout my life and career and not give it back in some way.
Seems like you're the epitome of paying it forward. And that is really inspiring. Who do you think are other contemporary role models for young people these days? Who do you consider?
I mean, definitely Serena Williams is someone that you know, maybe she's my age and I think of her as young, like myself.
Well,
No, I don't know.
for sure, definitely. Absolutely.
But I definitely think she's someone that has set a new standard for what it is to be a female and a female athlete.
Mhm.
That you know, is strong and is independent and isn't worried about what other people think about her. And she's extremely talented and hardworking, and it's broken so many barriers and boundaries. And I think that she's someone that all young people should look to as an example.
I agree. I totally agree. If I can go back to your memoir for just a moment. There was a line that spoke to me, and it was a motif throughout the book, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It was just so beautiful, and it was so lyrical. You kept mentioning this is for the little brown girls, and it, like I said, it's mentioned throughout your whole book. How do you feel that refrain dovetails with the current and continuing fight for racial justice, for the Black Lives Matter movement, and
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
You know, this is clearly it's not a new situation or experience for Black people, period, in the world, or for Black Americans specifically. This is a narrative and you know, something I've been standing for and speaking out against for 20 years of my professional career. But I feel like that refrain, it's important that we acknowledge that you want to invite and include and nurture those who are told they can't and those who are excluded. And that's why I felt it was important for me to specifically say that this was for the little brown girls. And it doesn't mean that it's not for every child. It doesn't mean that it's not for every person, but it's important that we love and care for and nurture those who don't have the same possibilities. So it was a beautiful thing for Sharice Jones, who was my co-writer in my memoir, and she really just tied that together so beautifully to make it this refrain throughout. And it's something that I hear from so many people, and I have for years, that like that's something that just really touches them. But it's such an important and vital time in the world for ballet in particular to be experiencing the Black Lives Matter, to be in quarantine and COVID-19. And I think that it's a moment for us to step back and kind of reset. I think the ballet world has been neglecting to have these serious conversations because they've been able to just kind of pass and get through. But it's coming to a point now where theater is changing. You know, people want to see a different type of theater that's not so stuffy, that's not just for one type of person. And so I feel like this is really just, there's a silver lining in all of this. And I think that the ballet world is really being forced to look at themselves and see the changes that they need to make in a real way, because we're so far behind where the world is, and that's not a good thing.
Talking back about the COVID-19, you led an effort called Swans for Relief, which was an initiative to raise funds for dancers who have lost their jobs after the ballet performances were shut down due to COVID-19. You talked a little bit about that. How can we as audience members support this community to make sure it thrives in this very challenging time we're in?
Yeah. You know, we're all kind of navigating blindly, trying to figure out how we continue and how we stay relevant in these times. And you know, ballet has not been our virtual presence has not been a strength of ours. And so this is really, I think, just going to put us to the test in terms of adapting to where the world is at. And also I feel like it's a real opportunity for us to reach so many more people than we ever could just in a theater. But with Swans for Relief, it's a GoFundMe, and you can go to GoFundMe and look for Swans for Relief and donate there. But, you know, it wasn't even just about my company, American Ballet Theatre, where I dance. It was really, I feel like, about supporting the ballet world and really showing the unity in what dance and art is and does, and it brings people together. You know, it's a universal language of love, and it should be inclusion. So I called on all of my incredible ballerina friends from all over the globe, and everyone was so generous. And so we ended up with 32 ballerinas from 22 ballet companies and from 14 countries, all dancing in this very iconic variation called Dying Swan, and have gotten to a little over halfway to our goal, so that we can release funds to each ballerina's respective ballet company.
Wow, it's amazing. It was a really beautiful video, and it's a really tremendous cause. I really enjoyed learning about you when, as a young person, when you moved to New York as a young dancer. And I loved hearing about your time living in the convent and eating breakfast with the nuns every morning. I know you have a special relationship with New York. What do you think has to occur in order to ensure that New York remains the epicenter of arts and culture? Or because of the current situation we're in, does this open up other places, other avenues? Is this more of a democratization of dance, ballet, culture? What do you think is going to happen?
I think that New Yorkers are so resilient, first of all, and I know, I mean, as human beings, we are so much more resilient than we think we are until we're actually put in a position to have to evolve and adjust to our surroundings. But I feel like New York is definitely a city that will, you know, set a standard in terms of being able to bounce back and find new ways of surviving. But I really think that we have to, as I was saying earlier, just redefine what theater means. I think that we need more opportunities to build, you know, whether it's outdoor venues, something that can be used for so many different things, but in different communities. If you bring it there, then the arts will come there. And so I really think that's a huge thing in terms of, you know, making it more inclusive and having more diversity, is really bringing the arts to those communities. And that's where I see the future of art and dance going. You know, there's so many incredible institutions that I speak with, you know, the Shed being one of them, that are really forward thinking and have great ideas and things in the works right now. But I'm really hopeful for you know, the arts and in the art scene and dance scene in New York City. I think there's a lot of stuff cooking up right now that's going to bring us to another level when we come out of this.
Well, here. I am all for whatever the next phase is. I am all for that. And I know many people out there can't wait to see in whatever form it happens, and are here to support you and the dance world. Everyone told me that I wouldn't have enough time, and they were right. I have a whole bunch of other questions I want to get to, but I can't because I've got I see the attendee questions are piling up. But before that, I really want to get to questions from a young ballerina. She found out that you were speaking virtually through Greenwich Library, and she attends a ballet class. She's a self-described funhead. She attends ballet class at the Greenwich Conservatory of Classical Ballet. Her mom and dad sent me several really on-point questions, and I promised that I would get her questions to you. Yes. So I want to do those first. So thank you, Maya Tanaka of the Greenwich Conservatory of Classical Ballet, for your very fine questions. Her first question to you is, who inspired you?
Oh, there's been so many people, you know, it's whenever I tell this story, people giggle and think it's funny, but Mariah Carey singer, artist.
I don't giggle. I knew that about you.
She, was someone that, as a biracial girl growing up, didn't have a lot of examples of people who looked like me in the public and who were succeeding. So to see this young woman who came out when I was 7 years old with her debut album, and I could see myself through her, and someone who was succeeding and someone who was so gifted and talented. I didn't realize that as a child, why I was so drawn to her. But that's how I can understand why it's so important to have representation. Her music motivated me to move and to create. I started choreographing before I even did ballet because of this inspiration that I found and felt this draw towards her. And so I understand what it means for young people that look at me and can see themselves through me. But in my early beginning stages in life, she was definitely an inspiration to me. But Raven Wilkinson, I think, has been that person in my life for quite some time. She passed away about 1.5 years ago, but she was a very, very dear friend. And being a Black ballerina to exist in the 1950s and really deal with racism head on was just so inspiring to see how positive and motivated she still was, well into her, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, there's a good picture of you and she in your book. Another question, I think what's your favorite production you performed in?
So I would say my favorite role to dance is Juliet. The older that I get, or the more mature and the more just experienced as an artist and as a human being and as a person, it's so much fun to take on really layered acting roles, like really meaty acting roles. And Juliet's one of them where, the choreography in Macmillan's version is so bare in terms of the steps. So most of it is really just being able to tell a story through your emotions and moving your body without a ton of direction. So I love the challenge of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you again, Maya. If you're out there in Zoom landia, we appreciate your questions. Sure, we'll see you on the stage at one point.
Yes.
I also got another email today from a patron, and she said that she saw you when you were in the junior company, and she'll never forget your performance. It was unforgettable. Linda W. Her question is a little bit different, though. What does Misty see herself doing after she retires from dancing, since having reached her goals at a very young age? I can't see you retiring anytime soon, but do you have any thoughts? You've kind of done everything at this point, author, dancer.
No, it's amazing that I have had so many opportunities to be able to delve in different areas of art. And there's something that I will continue to do once I leave the stage, but I will forever be connected to ballet and to dance for the rest of my life. I know that to be true. And I'll continue to write. I have a production company that I started about 5 years ago, and I have a lot of really exciting projects in the works, both scripted and unscripted, television, film, that, as a Black woman, to be able to be in a position to be on the other side and really make those decisions creatively and be a lens and a voice for, a voice that's not often told and depicted in film and in television. I'm really looking forward to that, which I've started, but I will do much more of once I'm done dancing.
Sounds like you've got a lot of things in the works.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to get to our Q&A because I can see them fast and furiously piling up, and I want to try to get to everyone's questions. We have something from Ella B. Today is my birthday, and I saw Misty Copeland for my 13th birthday last year. This is more of a comment. I will let you read to you this because I think this is adorable. I chased you down on the street for your autograph after Deuce Coupe.
Deuce Coupe, yeah.
Deuce Coupe, pardon my flubbing that. I was lucky because you stopped and autographed my point shoe. I wanted to say thank you and also ask, what would you recommend I do to become a better dancer? Thank you, Ella. I love that question.
I do too. I mean, I really think it's about the work you put in. There's no way, as I was saying, there's no shortcuts in ballet, and it's really about being consistent, showing up to class every day, but at the same time, listening to your body. You need just as much time in recovery as you do in the training you do, which is going to make you a better dancer. I would also say that, keep your eyes and ears open. Don't get so focused on yourself. You can learn so much from the people around you, from really listening to your teacher, whether they're giving corrections to someone else. You'll learn so much from that experience.
Awesome. Great advice. Question from Sophia C. What encouraged you to keep on trying even when people brought you down? That's great. That's a really good question.
Dance has always been like that thing that made me feel alive. It made me feel safe. It made me feel powerful and strong and all of these things. And in my mind, it was like, no matter how much I maybe hurt one day or someone's words hurt me, there's no way I could give those feelings or those people that power by taking something away from me that meant and means everything to me. And I think that the more I just reminded myself of how much I wanted to and loved to do what I do, that it gave me the strength to not let other people's words and hurt me or define me.
It's really good advice for all walks of life. Thank you. M. Loparco, this is a good question. Do you do any other type of dance other than ballet? And if so, what types? Maybe that's part of your training or
I wish I could say so. I wish I could say you wouldn't want to see me try it in a hip hop or something. But
I highly doubt that. You're great at whatever you do.
No, I think because I started out at such a late age, I just didn't really have that opportunity to kind of explore other genres of dance. All of my time is really dedicated to, working towards being a professional ballet dancer. So I didn't get that from a young age, which I think has made it harder for me to do it as an adult and as a professional. Number one, because I just don't have the time, and I'm just really careful about the things that I do with my body, just to make sure that I'm rested and really focused on my craft and what I have to do. So I don't have a ton of freedom to, just kind of buy some tap shoes and go take my first tap class, because who knows what will happen. Maybe I'll sprain my ankle and miss a season or something.
No, we wouldn't want that. No, we have to keep you. And I know you've had injuries in the past, so you have to keep your everything
body safe.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I guess this shows my ignorance here. Caroline D, how old were you when you went up on point? Is that when you went up on your tippy toes?
Yes. Yeah. So typically, you start out in ballet, you wear ballet slippers and you train to gain the strength and to understand the technique and the body positions and just be strong enough to hold yourself, just dancing period, without going on your toes. So usually takes, I would say, a girl 5 years minimum, to go on point. But my teacher put me on point after 3 months. So I was 13 years old, which is very, very rare. She felt I was ready, and she felt I had the strength and coordination and understanding. It's not something I would recommend to any young people out there listening. But yes, I was on point the same year that I started dancing.
Wow, that is an amazing feat. That is really incredible. But you talked about how you were a visual learner and you could see somebody and then kind of replicate that.
Yeah.
So you were lucky to have those skills as well as physical endurance. Misty Megan just says, hi, Misty. This is Serena McCormick. I am 7. I love the book Firebird. I love to dance. How old were you when you started to dance? You answered that. And so thank you, Megan. Keep on dancing. Arabella is 6, and she wants to know, what is your favorite ballet to dance? You answered that question, but also to watch as an audience member.
Oh man, I think I enjoy watching La Bayadere. It's just, there's so much richness, and the music, and the second act with the shades, and there's I don't know, like 32 ballerinas. I mean, it's just so dreamy, and it fulfills you in so many ways. But I would just say visually, I really enjoy watching La Bayadere. There's so much dancing in it.
That sounds really amazing. We had a question, and I know you talked a lot about this in your book, and it really affected you deeply, but have you ever had an injury? I know you had one on your shin, I believe.
Yeah, that's probably been the worst of my injuries, the most severe. I've had several injuries. I actually am still recovering from one that I got right before we went into quarantine to my lower back. But the one I had to my shin was almost career ending. I ended up with 6 stress fractures in my tibia, so in my shin, and I ended up having a plate screwed in. And 3 of the fractures were almost full breaks through the bone, just from not enough rest. That's why I'm saying, get your rest and let your body heal. And, you know, a lot of jumping. Sometimes it wasn't on surfaces that were right for dance, which you just really have to be cautious and careful that you're on the right, you know, surface and everything. But it, you know, to this day, I still have issues with my shin. You know, whenever you put a foreign object into your body, it's just never going to be the same.
Wow. Well, we're glad you recovered. That really sounded harrowing. Let's see. When did you know that you wanted to become a professional ballerina?
I guess my first ballet class. I mean,
well,
I didn't
think
know.
You were destined then.
I didn't know anything about ballet. I'd never heard classical music. My family knew nothing about it. And so the reason that I started ballet, or that I started in the ballet school, I was given a full scholarship to after my teacher saw me for the first time on the basketball court at the Boys and Girls Club. Immediately she said, I want to give you a scholarship because I think you have the potential to become a professional dancer. So from day one, that was my goal. So I never kind of went into it just to get the experience or the joy, or, you know, I ended up falling in love with it immediately, but the goal was always to become a professional.
All right. Linda T has a question. Was it hard as a 13-year-old to keep your focus and learn around much younger children, 5 and 8-year-olds? How did the other kids in the class react to you?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I think that because of the way that I grew up, you know, there just wasn't a lot of consistency or structure. And so I think I was craving that in my life at that point as a 13-year-old. So ballet just fit into exactly what I needed at the right time. So it was never difficult for me to stay focused. I was so hungry every day to come back to the studio and learn something new. And I had so much to learn. So I literally was learning something new every day for like 4 years of my training before I became a professional. But the young kids, you know, I don't think I really paid attention to it. You know, them looking at me as an older girl. I think I was just so serious and focused on getting everything I could out of every class, just because I'd never experienced even being given an opportunity like that in my whole adolescence. To have someone focus on me and nurture me, you know, being one of 6 children and having my mom struggle so much just to like keep us with a roof over our head and food on the table. It was incredible to be able to be focused on in that way. And so I really just put my all into it.
That's really important. we answered this. When did you know you wanted to become a professional ballerina? Yes. Do you have, I think we've got a lot of fun heads out in our audience. We have some very
Yay!
technical questions. All
Oh, I
right. Well,
love
thank
it.
you all. Thank you for all your great questions. Do you have any advice for strengthening your feet to get closer to foot? Maybe a little bit of any technical
Yeah. You know,
tips?
there are so many gadgets and things out there on the market, you know, that stores and online stores sell. And I really truly think that it's the ballet technique is so incredible, and that's why it's lasted this long and hasn't needed to be changed, is because it's so beautifully created in a way that if you just follow the technique and you're consistent and you put in the work in ballet class, your feet are naturally going to get strong, and it's there to slowly build a progression for you to get onto point. You know, of course, there are some exercises you can do with a TheraBand, you know, where you wrap it around the bottom of your foot and you can kind of do the winging this way and up and down. But there's no crazy tricks. It's really, I think, just being patient and putting in the time and work.
All right. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. We have a question about more signed copies of Bunheads available. Yes, Diane's Books does have more personalized book plates, and you can get them at Diane's Books. And they're in Greenwich, or let's see. We have a question from Carol S. Would love to hear more about your days dancing in the company, being in the corps, rehearsing as a principal, what those days were like. And Carol is a director from Connecticut area.
Oh,
thank you,
great.
Carol.
Yes, thank you, Carol. Yeah, you know, it is really different, you know, having a different title and just getting older in a company. You really do have different hours and days and different types of work that you do. As a corps de ballet member, man, those were brutal days. You know, and I think I spent 6 or 7 years as a corps dancer, which is a good amount of time. You know, and this is work where you don't get shows off, you know, and I'm speaking specifically to the experience of dancing with American Ballet Theatre, because I know every company is different, but you know, there are so many shows, and yes, there are different casts, but most of the time as a corps de ballet member, if you're doing one part one night, then you're doing 3 other parts another night. So you're constantly switching. So you're going to be on the stage no matter what, most nights. So I was dancing, you know, up to 8 hours a day in the rehearsal studio. And then I would be in every single performance, whether we were on tour or in our 2-month season in the spring at the Metropolitan Opera House. As a soloist, it got a little bit lighter. Because there were other soloists and you were just doing certain featured parts. So you weren't like in every act as someone in the background. But as a principal dancer, crazily, my schedule is still quite full and busy dancing wise. I'm still in the studio, you know, between 5 and 8 hours a day, rehearsing. But the good thing is that, because as a principal dancer, it's so much more strenuous on the body that you just can't perform back-to-back shows. So I will have, you know, shows off in between, which is nice.
Well, we want to keep you in tip-top shape. Yeah. You are a national treasure. So whatever you need to do, do it. Okay, it's 7:58. Let's do one more question. Taylor, age 8. Another young dancer would like to know what your favorite dance move is.
You know, it's constantly changing. You know, when I was younger, I loved adagio. So I love to do like slow movement and holding my legs up, which a lot of dancers despise because it's so hard. And then I remember when I became a professional, I really loved like petit allegro and grande allegro. I think my jumps got stronger just over time with more experience. At this point, I would say I love the drama and the acting of that part of ballet. Really, the storytelling through mime is probably my favorite thing to do in ballet.
All right. Well, it's 7:59 and I wanted to end at 8, but I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone's questions. They just kept coming in fast and furiously. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for being with us, all our wonderful attendees. Thank you so much, Misty. You, like I said, you're a national treasure. We're so lucky to have you. You've done so much for the youth of America, and you're such an amazing role model. And I adore your new book. Like I said, it's available at Diane's Books. Please go out and get one. I bought 2, one for me, one for my big sister, because she really wanted one.
Thank you.
And so I probably will go on my lunch hour tomorrow and buy more. So I thank you so much. Thank you all. Please continue to support Greenwich Library and our wonderful innovative programs. Our next night out with friends is going to be a night out at the opera. And we're going to have members of New York City's on-site opera come and do a special show. And each piece is dedicated to gratitude. And we are so grateful to have you, Misty. You are so amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. And thank you for doing everything that you've done. Thank you all. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
It's been amazing. Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.
Thanks for being magnificent.